Hello, how are you? Good evening. It is day 2 of our exam prep study challenge, 253 exam study challenge. It's so good to see you this evening. Again, my name is Nikita Borton. I'm a master level educational diagnostician with experience, about 12 to 13 years experience, ranging from pre-K to 12th grade. As stated yesterday, I am passionate about this work that we do as educational diagnosticians. It's some of the best work we will ever do on this side of heaven. I believe that all children deserve an opportunity, equal and equitable opportunities in education to go be great, just like their peers. I believe that parents of children with learning disabilities deserve dignity and respect. And I try to emulate that in every communication with them. And I believe that diagnosticians make the world go around, that we get to go to work every day and advocate for what's best for children. So I want to thank you all for being here to study with me. Also, I want to welcome you. Those of you that will be watching the replay, you are welcome as well. I'm glad that you were able to drop in and study with us in a time that works for you. So again, my name is Nikita Borton. I'm the owner, founder of the Borton Institute. We are a high-end professional development firm offering high-value training opportunities for educational diagnosticians with 0 to 100 years of experience, those of us that are looking to execute at a mastery level. That is a service that we provide at the Borton Institute. So we're live today. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Instagram, and we are live on YouTube. This is our second day on YouTube. Super excited to be on YouTube. And as we stated yesterday during our day 1 exam prep challenge, for the first 100 subscribers to our brand new YouTube page, I will send you a free study video on competency number 1. Okay, I'll send you a free study guide on competency number 1. A free video on competency number 1. So thank you again for being on today. Today is day 2 of the 253 Exam Study Challenge. The Exam Study Challenge, I created it as a 28-day study challenge. Is designed to motivate you to study the exact material you need to pass the exam so you can walk in confident on your exam day. I want to help you tackle studying for the 253 exam in a way that is structured, thorough, and not overwhelming. I want to help alleviate your worry or your worry about what to study or how to study about the 253 exam. I want to do that heavy lifting for you, and I want for you to just focus on what's important, and that's passing the exam. Okay, so I want to check in with you. I always like to do this check in to see who we have on, and I want to know, how do you feel? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put a positive spin on this. I want to know, what part of the test are you the most confident about? What content, what topic on the 253 exam are you the most confident about? Drop it in the chat. Let's see where we are with it. Drop it in the chat. And while you do that, I'm going to come over here. How are you feeling? A lot of times I hear that people feel the best about the professional responsibilities, or what the diagnostician role is, things like that. Drop it in the chat as we go along. What are you the most confident on? What are you the most confident about when it comes to the 253 exam? Let's see. Shalise, I feel I am most confident about eligibility criteria. All right. And the safeguards. That's a great place to feel confident. That's the bulk of competency one, 36% of the exam. So that's great. Ms. Shara says professional responsibility and ethics. Excellent. You guys are on your way. Really, really good. That's typically where people feel the most confident, is when it comes to ethics. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I will say, a few years back, I've been doing this for about 3 years now, 4 years, this exam prep, and just kind of filling the gap for diagnosticians who are studying to take the exam. And I work with this one diagnostician student who had taken the exam about 5 or 6 times, was not passing it. He was failing it about 5 times. He started when it was a 153 exam. And then when it changed to the 253 exam, they offered him more attempts to take the test. And I worked with him for a while, and he knew his material. He knew his stuff. He knew the competencies. He was able to apply it. He knew what he needed to know. But the issue was test anxiety. Test anxiety. He had a severe case of test anxiety. So I really had to work with him on strategies to tackle that anxiety, because he was losing sleep, he wasn't eating. It was a really bad case of test anxiety. And I know that he is not the only diagnostician student who's gearing up to take the exam who's dealing with test anxiety. So I think I want to do a free webinar. If you think that's something that you would be interested in, I'm going to do a free webinar on test anxiety. What do you do about it? Where does it even come from? But more importantly, how do you overcome it? So I'm going to send out information about that testing anxiety. If you're interested, you can definitely shoot me an email. It's here on the screen for you. I can be reached at bortoninstitute@gmail.com. And I will just definitely send the information to you and keep you abreast on when we do that free webinar on tackling and overcoming testing anxiety. Okay, so we'll work through that. We'll get to that together. And by the way, he did end up passing. he did end up passing. It was a hard fought battle and he knocked it out. So I was so proud of that. So I'm looking forward to the same victory for you. All right, so let's get to it. Today is day 2. We are focusing on the rest of competency 1. Let me pull my slides up. There we go. All right. Let's keep going. So again, definitely welcome you all. Thank you all for being here. Yesterday we talked about, and I'll take a minute to go through it today, just in case this is your first time joining us, or if you're watching in the replay and this is new information for you. The 253 exam is 90 selected response questions and then 1 constructed response question. You have 5 hours to take the exam. There are different versions of the same test. Okay, the exam content is solely based on domains and competencies, which is a good thing because that makes it very, very easy to study for. Okay, the competency statements, and this is really, really important for your study. The competency statement is the broad, bold statement of what bold statement of what the entry-level educator should know, but under every competency are descriptive statements, and they are pieces of gold. Okay, the descriptive statements are telling you what knowledge you need to have, and they're telling you what skill set you need to have. Hard skill sets for the role of the educational diagnostician and what you should know. Okay, so domain one. That's what we're talking about today. The second part of domain 1, identification and assessment. It is the largest portion of your exam. It is 34% of your exam. It's a big deal. I always tell people, whenever you're preparing to study, you definitely want to plan spending time in domain 1. Again, that's competency 1, 2, and 3. Then you get to domain 2, curriculum intervention, domain 3, and domain 4. And you can see how it's broken down on the test there. So you definitely want to plan to study accordingly. So again, competency 1, this is our second day. We're doing the second half of competency 1. Again, competency 1 says, you know the requirements for identifying disability criteria and for determining the need for specialized instruction. So that's where we are. And we are, hold on, let me see, I'm sorry. I need to get the right one. That's not the one I want. I'm sorry. One moment. My apologies. Here's where we are today. This is where we're starting. I'm sorry about that. I had these in a certain order. I'm not sure why they're not in the right order. But today we're doing competency 1, but we're doing descriptive statements D, E, and F. Okay, so descriptive statement D reads, demonstrate, here's that word again, knowledge. Demonstrate the knowledge of issues related to identification of overrepresentation and underrepresentation in special education of culturally and linguistically diverse students. All right. So again, what does descriptive statement D want you to know? They want you to know the issues surrounding overrepresentation and underrepresentation as far as special education is concerned. So that is descriptive statement D. So we're going to hang out for just a moment there today. Here's descriptive statement E. Demonstrate knowledge, again that word, knowledge, of the importance of student information. So what kind of student data are they referring to? Cognitive data, academic data, communicative, social, physical, functional, adaptive, emotional characteristics from a variety of sources, a convergence of data, including information regarding the student's educational development, medical, family history. It's lengthy, but what it wants you to know is what student data to collect depending on what you're testing for. That's what it's getting at. What student data do you need when you're considering evaluation assessment for special education programming? Okay, student data. That's the focus of descriptive statement E. And finally, descriptive statement F. Demonstrate knowledge of the relationships between assessment and evaluation, goals and objectives, and services for students with disability. Again, all of this knowledge that it wants you to have all through competency number one. You are looking to master and be highly knowledgeable of these topics that you've seen strewn throughout competency one and the following descriptive statements. So again, descriptive statement F says it wants you to know the relationship between assessment and evaluation. They are not the same thing. The relationship between the goals and the objectives, and how each of those assessment, goals, objectives, how they inform services that we select for children in IEP meetings. Okay, so that is what that's the focus of descriptive statement F. Okay, so we're going to hit on TEA. We're going to go to the TEA website and we're going to take a look at significant disproportionality. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is that the information you're going to see is not information that you really need to memorize. I will say from the Pearson exam that I've, experienced and kind of worked with, I only saw one question on there about disproportionality, period. So there's a level of awareness that you need, but this is not a particular topic I would hang my hat on and spend a whole lot of time on, because there's so much more in competency one that you need to master. But you do need to be aware of this because every question counts, right? We want correct on every question on the exam. So you will have a question about disproportionality on the exam. It's highly likely, but again, you just more or less be aware of it. This is not a place that you really need to hang your hat. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to just be looking at the TEA website. Oh, no. Here we are. All right. So this is it. So this is the link here. Disproportionality, TEA, and this is where you want to peruse. This is really kind of where you're reading to get information on significant disproportionality in students. Okay, I sent you a graphic that looks just like this. These are the 3 areas of disproportionality that the local school district has to report on, and they have to report if they have overrepresentation or underrepresentation, or if they're meeting standard in these particular areas. Okay, the first one is the identification of students with disabilities, including identification of students with particular impairments, but specifically ages 3 through 21. And those are all the ranges that we serve under special education. Okay, identification. Next, we have placement, the placement of students in particular educational settings. And then disciplinary removals, the incidence, duration, and type of disciplinary actions, including suspensions and expulsions. So you have a graphic. I emailed that to you out with the information first thing this morning. If you do not have this graphic, no problem. Just email me at bortoninstitute@gmail.com and I'll make sure that you have this graphic. Okay, here's the definition of significant disproportionality, and I'm just reading this for emphasis, not to insult your intelligence. But the definition reads: the state has the discretion to define what constitutes significant disproportionality for the local school district. LEA means local school district, and the state in general. However, the state's definition of significant disproportionality must be based on an analysis of numerical information and may not include consideration of the state's or the school district's policies, procedures, practice. So they go on to give more information about disproportionality and how they get there and what the numbers are in the breakdown. And here are the requirements for the school district that they have to report on yearly. So they're reporting on these 3 areas yearly. Okay. And they have to do a review and, if appropriate, revise policies, procedures, and practice if they've been found to have some disproportionality. When the state identifies that the school district has significant disproportionality, the school district must meet the requirements found at, they state the law here for you. If the LEA is found to be significant disproportionality in one or more of these categories, then this is what they are required to do. And this is what you need to be aware of. Okay. Significant disproportionality in special education. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question here. I'm going to stop a moment. I know that if you've been an educator, and we all have been an educator for at least 2 to 3 years, if we're looking to become educational diagnosticians, in your specific district, you don't have to, type it out or anything for us, but is there any disproportionality in your district that you're aware of? Yay, nay, yes, no. If there is, where have you seen disproportionality in your district? I'm curious about that. Yes, Christina, you've seen disproportionality. Where have you seen it? In what particular aspect in special education or in gen ed, just your experience? Where have you seen disproportionality? ELs, oh my gosh, you are exactly right. I've experienced that as well. ELs in special education. Excellent, really good. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, now we're going to go on to descriptive statement E. So descriptive statement D was TEA website, I'm sorry, was a significant disproportionality. That's descriptive statement D. The way you're studying for that is that you're reading it. You're taking in that information, considering what's being said, thinking through it, wetting your whistle, so to speak, and have some working knowledge about that. Okay. The area that we're going to go to next is the review of student data. This is descriptive statement E. I'm going to take time to walk you through a bit of the child find process so you can know where this review of student data comes in. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again, cross my fingers that it works better today. Share my screen. Here we are. Ta-da! All right. This is what we call the timeline decision tree. This came off of the TEA. I'm sorry. This came off of the Region 18 Legal Framework website. As a matter of fact, I should send this to you. If you don't have this, if you would like it, just drop your email in the chat, or if you're watching out in social media world, just drop your name, drop your email in the comments, or email me, bortoninstitute@gmail.com. I'll make sure that you have this timeline decision tree. This is competency number one in pictures. That's what this is. Competency number one in pictures. So you have to have this document, and it's really cool. It's interactive. Let me show you. So when you scroll down, this is it. This is Child Find right here. It takes this whole spectrum of services and it puts it in a beautiful rainbow colored graphic. I'm going to draw your attention here at the beginning of the Child Find process. Okay, it says, I'm going to click on it, and it takes me right to questions. It gives me questions, it gives me scenarios, super interactive. All right. So, question: when a parent submits a written, pay attention here, a written request for an initial evaluation, what is the timeline for the school to respond? Stick your answer in the chat. I will want to know what you think. When a parent submits a written request for an initial evaluation, what is the timeline for the school to respond? Ding, 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 ding. Yay! So many correct answers. Really, really good. You are exactly right. They have 15 school days. Here's the answer for you. If a parent submits a written request for an initial evaluation, the school must provide the parent with a notice. Pay attention here. You have to give them a notice of proposal or refusal. People always say, can we tell a parent no? Like if they write it or if they say it verbally, which counts? Verbal counts. A verbal request is a request. Even though it does not say if a parent submits a verbal request, best practices to err on the side of caution. Dare I say CYA? If a parent makes a request, whether it's a verbal or written, this is the best practice that you should follow. Okay. So if they make a request for an initial evaluation, you have 15 days to respond. You can give them notice that, hey, we're going to go ahead and propose assessment, or we're going to refuse to evaluate. But you have to give them notice either way, even if they're the ones that requested it. That is a requirement by law. That's the kind of question you're going to get on your exam. It's going to say something like, what should the diagnostician do first? And it's going to give you a whole list of things that all make sense. The diagnostician should call the parent first. The diagnostician should meet with RTI first. The diagnostician should give the parent written notice. The diagnostician should review the data. And you're going to be thinking, yes, they should do all of these things. But the only right answer about what you should do first is the notice of procedural or refusal to evaluate. So these are the kind of tidbits you want to keep in mind whenever you're studying for the exam. Okay. Now, the question becomes, how are we determining who we're going to evaluate and when we're going to evaluate? Your district is going to have some kind of procedure that you are using in the district, but I'm going to talk to you from the point of the law. So, and don't get that confused. There's best practices that the state of Texas says that we take, and then the school district takes that and they implement it in their district in a way that makes sense. But if you use some newer diagnosticians who have not been exposed to any other way, they will take this district process thinking it is what the law says, and it's not. It's just the way that particular district implements it in their respective area. So I'm going to talk to you from the law. Okay, so right down here, it says additional information to consider. I'm going to click on that. When the parent submits a written or verbal request for an evaluation, or if the school is coming to you saying, Miss Diagnostician, Mr. Diagnostician, I see something in the student, they are not making progress. I don't know what it is, but it's something going on. You're going to get that a lot. You're going to get that a lot. So when the parent makes the request, when the school makes the request, and they're asking or they suspect that there's a disability condition, you review how the student has responded to what? Intervention, and proceed with evaluation. That's what you're doing. For those 15 days, you are reviewing a convergence of data to determine, is this a candidate for a learning disability or is this nothing at all? But now here's a question that I have for you, and I want you to put your answer in the chat. How do you know what to look at? How do you know what to look at, and what are you even looking for? When RTI brings you this pile of data, this whole stack of data, in the ideal world, we're going to assume that the data is quality data. They bring it to you, they plop it down on your desk. You have 15 school days to make a determination of, we're going to proceed or this is going to be refusal. How do you know to proceed with assessment? Drop your answer in the chat. Okay, if the student is not making progress, okay, you are going to be looking at data to see if the student is responding to interventions. Yes, that is correct answer. How do you know that we're going to proceed? At what point do you determine that a student needs an evaluation? If the student is not making progress, yes, but I'm asking for more. I want to dig a little more specifically. What are you looking for? Was the RTI research based progress length of intervention? Really good. Definitely looking to see, did they progress? That's a key question. And we're definitely looking to see, how long was the intervention there? Now, here's where I'm leaning into. Yes, this is what I'm talking about right here, Rosie. After looking at a convergence of data, you're looking at all this data, trying to decide, is this a suspected disability condition? You're looking to see, is there any evidence of criteria that's being met? You're looking to see, are they responding to interventions or not? Are there weaknesses when there's print, but in the absence of print, there are strengths? The only way that you know to do that is to have a clear understanding of what criteria you're looking for SLD, for ID. You may have heard a little bit about that last night. You may have been studying that last night when you made your flashcards. That's why it's so important. You have got to know what dyslexia is before you can sit down, look at data, and decide this needs to be a dyslexia assessment. How do you know if you don't know what the criteria is? You have got to know criteria, and then you're looking at the data to see, are there trends in this data that are pointing toward a potential SLD or potential ID? Okay, so really, really important. These are great answers, really great answers. Thank you for that, Rosie. Karen is asking, is there an academic need? That's prong number 2. Really good. Is there a disability condition, but also is there a need for specialized instruction here? Now, some of that might not be answered until you get through the full FIE. We can't like really, we sometimes just have to err on the side of caution and go ahead and proceed. But yes, really, really great. The interventions implemented are not currently helping in the subjects they are struggling in. That is a telltale sign. Really, really good. Lack of response to interventions. Was it implemented successfully and consistently and with fidelity? Excellent, Shara. Thank you for sharing that. Good job, y'all. Really, really good. You are all up in descriptive statement E. That's what this is. Descriptive statement E. All things data driven for students. This is what this descriptive statement is saying, that you have the ability to shift through all of this data and make it make sense. And it tells you, is this trending toward a disability condition or not? Okay. One of the best ways to wrap your mind around this competency is to sit with a diagnostician on your campus, or even a RTI MTSS person, and practice going through student data and make a determination on whether or not you would recommend them for assessment or not. I also recommend, if you can, when you can, to sit in on a conversation where the diagnostician is telling the parent, we're not going to proceed with the assessment at this time, and explaining to them why. And being part of that, and after they have that conversation with the parent, you be the one to go through the procedural safeguard, because it's still something that we do by law. You have to give them a procedural safeguard booklet and prior written notice whenever there's a request for assessment, whether you're going to proceed or not. Those are the little things that your test questions are going to be all over. When do you give what sheet of paper? When do they get the procedural safeguards? When do they get the parent's guide to the art process? You have to know that. And that's embedded in that timeline, this timeline decision tree that I just showed you. Okay, that's on the, as a matter of fact, let me show you where to pull it. Let me share my screen. It's here. This is the legal framework. This is where we were yesterday. The legal framework. This is your best friend. Diagnostician Bible is what I call it. This is the Region 18 legal framework. If you click on documents, you scroll down, timeline, decision tree, February 2017. This is the most current version, and it even has audio to talk out loud to you. This is what I'm using. That's what I was just clicking through. So it's great, 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 great information that helps you walk through timelines. It's child find all over the place. Child find all over the place. A key piece to your study. So I highly recommend that. Okay. Really good. Y'all are doing a great job. I feel good about where you are with competency number 1. The last bit that we'll talk about today, and I'll let you go, is going to be the relationship between assessment and evaluation. Now, this is descriptive statement F. This was the first clause in descriptive statement F. It is saying that you know the relationship between assessment and evaluation. That's something that you can spend time looking up today in your personal study. When you study after this for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours, studying this data, reading through disproportionality, reading through your timeline decision tree, and also researching what is the difference between assessment and evaluation. I bet you it's in your coursework, embedded in your coursework. I know that you had this conversation. So that's part of what you're going to be looking at. So this is part of competency F. The other part was the relationship between the goals and the objectives. Today, I sent you a technical document that broke down for you goals and objectives and what the state criteria is for quality goals and objectives. Let me share my screen with you so you can take a look at it. This was in your email, and this is why I sent it to you, because descriptive statement F says that you will know the relationship between the goals and the objectives and what it looks like in an IEP. How do you know what it's supposed to say? How do you know it's a quality goal? If it's not a quality goal, what needs to be fixed? This is all per TEA. So this was in the email that I sent you this morning. If you did not get this, just email me, bortoninstitute@gmail.com. If you're watching out in social media world, if you're watching the replay, no worries, just email me. Let me know you need a goal, an IEP document. I'm happy to send it to you. Okay. So that is here. So that's all here. This is just all reading. All reading. This is all knowledge that you need to have, be aware of. So it's all there, easy for you to read. So you don't have to go digging around data to find it. It's right there at your fingertips. Okay. And then, pardon me. There we go. The last part, a descriptive statement F, says selection of services for students. And what this is talking about is once you're in the IEP meeting and you've talked through assessment evaluation data, you've talked through goals and objectives, what services are then going to be recommended? What services are you going to recommend? What ambitious so what goals are you going to add to an ambitious IEP? And that's why I sent you the technical document that says IEP meetings. These are all the required components of a well-run, well-discussed IEP meeting. And that's the other thing I sent to you to study. I know I loaded you down with all kind of goodies, but I wanted it to be at your fingertips. I didn't want you to have to go search for this stuff. And it's really important that you know what the law says about it and not just what you're asking people and hearing from people or even what you're observing. It's important to know what is the lawful terminology, the lawful verbiage, because this is the verbiage that your exam is written in. So that's why I'm sending you these things directly from the state, directly from TEA, written in the proper language. So again, how to build an ambitious IEP meeting, right? You have the PLAF, you have the goals, you have the objectives. So again, for those of you who are watching the replay, if you're watching out in social media world, just email me, bortoninstitute@gmail.com, and let me know you need the IEP document, and I'm happy to send it to you. It's lengthy reading, y'all, but it's good. This is learning that you need beyond the exam. As soon as you touch down in the diagnostician role, these are things they expect you to know. This is entry level, day one on the job knowledge that you have got to have. You need to know. And now I don't say that lightly. I came from general education world. I taught in a private and public setting about 10, 15 years before I became an educational diagnostician. It was general education only. Gen Ed only. I did not know anything about special education. I had never been in an art meeting. I didn't know what an art meeting was at all until I was sitting in class learning how to be an educational diagnostician. That's because I got a leaflet that came across my desk when I was a teacher, and it said something about psychoeducational assessment and learning disabilities of children and diagnosis. And I was like, what? This is my dream job. This is what I want to do. I had no idea that there's so much more going on than just testing. What I learned. So if you are a Gen Ed person and you're coming directly out of Gen Ed world like I did, and I mean a long time in Gen Ed world, I taught a long time, Gen Ed only, and I was dumped head first into special education world. You can do it. You can do it. Is it a steep learning curve? Yes, it is. But I'm here 12, 13 years later to tell you it can be done and you can do it well. So I'm rooting for you. So don't be overwhelmed if you're coming out of Gen Ed world. So you have some self-guided study. I sent you all that documentation for you to read. It's self-guided learning today. You have disproportionality. We talked about that on the TEA website. I sent you some simple literature with that. Again, this is not where you're going to hang your hat. You're not going to, spend all your time here. You're going to read it, have working knowledge of it, but move on. Okay. Then you have the review of data. This is significant. You need to know this. I sent you the timeline decision tree, but there's other data out there on reviewing student data. And another key factor to this is to know the eligibility criteria for SLD and ID. So when you do look at data, you're able to make determinations based on the eligibility criteria. All right. And then descriptive statement F, we talked about you researching the difference between assessment, evaluation. We gave you a document so you can evaluate the relationship between the goals and the objectives, and then the IEP technical document on the selection of services for students and how that happens in IEP meetings. So you are going to be a busy bee in your study today. You're studying for an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it's only day 2 of the challenge. We have 26 more days to go. But by the end of this, you're going to be a guru. Now, I want to remind you that these are bite-sized portions of content that we're going to go through. I'm going to come live again on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 3 more days. I'm going to take you all the way through week 1 for study, giving you these bite-sized content, giving you some highly structured study materials to keep you focused, to keep you on the right path, and keep you in line with the domains and the competencies. But if you need something deeper, if you want to go deeper, you want a deeper understanding, I do have an exam prep course that you can purchase from the website. The website is www.thebortoninstitute. The Borton Institute. This is what the page looks like when you get there. You will click on products and services. Scroll on down to educational, this bit, what I have here for diagnostician students, and click here, educational diagnostician certification test prep. If you click it, it tells you all about the course. It's a set of 4 pre-recorded sessions that are an absolute deep dive, and I mean deep. We comb through every word of every competency of every descriptive statement. We break down everything. I give you a workbook. I give you all the materials you need per domain to study. And yes, this number 4, the 4th video, is only focused on the constructed response. Hands down, I am confident that after you sit through video number 4, you are going to walk in on test day ready to knock the constructed response out of the park. You can't miss. It's that detailed. It's that valuable. So I highly recommend that if you definitely want to do a deep dive. I did Shara purchased. So I know Shara is going to be on her way. If you purchase by tomorrow at 8 p.m., I will give you a free course, how to interview for a diagnostician position. I am so confident in your studies, and I'm so confident in the exam prep adding to your study and increasing your potential for passing the exam. I'm so confident in that that I'm giving you a $60 value. $60 value. It's a free course. How to interview for a diagnostician position whenever you purchase the exam prep. So we'll sit today and we'll go through that because you're going to not only pass the exam, you're going to get the job. All right. And we're believing that in advance. Yo, I cannot tell you how much I enjoy these little sessions. Can you tell? I love this. I love talking about DIAG stuff. I love diagnostician students. It's my heart. I'm passionate about it. It's because I love the field and I want you to love the work. So I want you to be excited about it. So I'm going to come back tomorrow. We made it through competency 1. Tomorrow, 7:30, same place, same time, we're going to get into competency 2. Competency 2 is all about assessment. Cognitive this, assessment that, WJ this, WISC that, all things assessment. I have to tell you, it is one of my favorite competencies, and it is the competency in my experience that students miss the most because it's the least amount of experience that you've been able to have. Usually in our courses, you're only able to test up to 3 kids, maybe a 4th one. And most of those kids are typically developing. They're all supposed to be typically developing kids. So your experience and your exposure to assessment is so limited that it's super abstract until you're the one sitting in the seat. So I hope to kind of take away the mystery, give you some understanding, give you some context, and we're going to really sit together and work through competency 2 and get a robust understanding of assessment. So it's definitely one of my favorite areas. Okay. So it's 8:19. It's been about almost an hour now. I'm going to take one moment. I'm going to look over and see, do you have any questions? Let's see what's going on. I missed any questions? Any questions about anything? Okay, no, don't see anything over there. Excellent, so good. All right, that is it, friends. I thoroughly enjoy y'all. I will be back tomorrow with the smile. We'll go over competency 2. If you need anything at all, don't hesitate to email me. I appreciate you all. I'm so excited for y'all. I'm rooting for you. And I'll keep you posted on the test anxiety, that free webinar. We'll do it sometime in the next couple of weeks. I'll keep you posted, okay? All right. Thank y'all so much. Have a good night.